conversation. So Office Mix is a fairly new product within Microsoft. You can think of it as an add-in to PowerPoint that you can download by going to mix.office.com, and a cloud service. Now there's some things about Mix that are just different than PowerPoint. And so as I talk to educators as they're trying to get their minds around what Office Mix is, there's a little bit of unlearning necessary before you can fully understand what Office Mix is. I'll explain that in a minute. I just wanted to set you up for a little bit of unlearning so that you can then learn some new concepts here. So in online presentations and education, we think about captivating and invigorating students. The educators I talk to, that's one of the primary things they want from capabilities that Microsoft might provide, is help me keep my audience invigorated. Educators are often talking to us about wanting different ways and more efficient ways, usually, of flipping classrooms and doing blended learning. And they also want better ways of measuring student outcomes so that they can improve their instruction, as well as provide more personalized education. Now, what students want, no surprise, is they want to create their assignments using rich digital media, like Office Sway, for example, and OneNote as well. And it should come as no surprise. Anyone who has teenagers, you're all educators, students have an expectation these days that, of course, my lesson content is going to be accessible across devices. And Office Mix delivers on that promise. And for administrators, what we hear from administrators, school administrators, is, of course, they're also looking to inspire teachers and educators and to have easy tools to use to deliver engaging professional development content. So we think of Office Mix along the same lines. Office Mix is PowerPoint. So anyone with PowerPoint 2013 and above, Office Mix is free. And if you're comfortable creating a slide and adding a title to that slide, you have all the skills necessary to create an Office Mix. Office Mix enables you to record your voice, video, and digital inking, and embed these interactables, quizzes, simulations, and more inside of PowerPoint to be delivered to students. And then, what we think of as Office Mix enables remixing of content. So what we often see is I talk to educators about how they spend their time, and often it's around fine-tuning lessons. And fine-tuning lessons can be a real chore, even though it might be small edits, small changes to make, but it's sometimes small changes to make in video, and changing video is just hard. Specialized tools, specialized talent, that's not me. With Office Mix, the source code in some ways is just PowerPoint. It's exactly one file, it's a PowerPoint file, and if you want to change it, you change the file, you change the slide. It's that easy. Now, two is around this notion of engagement. Office Mix enables you to embed these interactables, quizzes, assessment, inside of, and simulations inside of the PowerPoint canvas. And of course, you can then easily share the content on the web. You can embed it within any number of learning management systems, or you can just send a student a link or distribute it through OneNote is also pretty common. Now, what lights up educators more than anything else when I talk about Office Mix is the rich analytics that the tool provides. So the Office Mix that's delivered is a PowerPoint file. We've established that. And PowerPoint files have slides. We all know that. The analytics that you get back that I'll show you in a moment presents back to you in a graphical way which of your students, per student, per slide, how much time they spent. That's good. You have some students that dropped off halfway through. That's some good insight. As well as on an assessment question by assessment question basis. Jim answered question number 7B, and that was the wrong answer, for instance. And you can aggregate that to look at that across the students that have taken that assessment, or you can then drill into an individual student. So with that, why don't I jump into a bit of an Office Mix demo. So since I'm already in PowerPoint, I'll just start my Office Mix demo right here within PowerPoint. Before I do, you'll notice I've got some slide notes. Do we use slide notes? I know I do. Well, let me show you how those slide notes become super powerful. So when you install the Office Mix add-in, mix.office.com, big orange button, download the add-in. you then get this ribbon. And the ribbon provides new capabilities. It enables you to record voice video, to do screen recording, so I can demo something, create a video. The video remains inside of my PowerPoint slide. I can also insert video and audio I have from other sources, by the way. If I have a video I shot on my phone, I just drop it in the slide. Works fantastically well. And it allows you to embed quizzes and assessments. And I'll demo each of these in turn. Now, once I'm done with my mix, I can upload it to the cloud, I can create a video with it, I can stick it in a learning management system. There's a ton of options. I'll take you through a few of those. But what I want to do first is just do a simple screen recording. So I'm going to pick my camera. I'm still in PowerPoint, by the way. I'm going to choose my camera. So there's my camera. Hopefully you can see me here. You'll see what we did with the slide notes. We put this little teleprompter thing up front, because what I'm going to do now is I'm going to record my voice kind of giving my lecture, me talking through my slides, so that others not in the room have access to it, or if anyone wants to remediate, you get access to it after the fact. So I'm going to click through and I'm going to say, Office Mix is really three components. It is the learning experience, it's an authoring experience, and it's the administrative experience. The authoring experience looks like this. It's the ribbon to PowerPoint that I just showed you. And the administrative experience provides fantastic ways of setting permissions as well as viewing analytics on a slide-by-slide, student-by-student basis. All right. So I just recorded that, by the way. That is, by the way, something we call live mixing. So there's this thing about classroom flipping that I've seen educators sort of approach flipping classrooms one of two ways. One is I am a flip classroom ninja, and I'm going to take all of my lessons and I'm going to put them online straight away, and I'm going to invest a whole lot of discretionary effort to do that. That's kind of rare, to be honest. The other is what we call live mixing, which is I presented to you, so I'm your instructor, but bear with me. I presented to you, but I recorded myself while I was doing it. And so students that couldn't make it to school, snow day, they're from Boston, or yeah, thanks. I'm from Rochester, New York, by the way. Or just couldn't make it to school for some reason. They get the benefit of me recording my lecture. And the discretionary effort for me as the educator necessary was nothing. I just recorded myself giving my lecture. And so there's really no extra effort to test out this flip classroom notion. Now I can, of course, play this back and preview it here within my slide. And you'll see when I do that, the voice and the video is synchronized with my inking. So you'll see as I'm clicking through this, I'm inking on the slide. Looks like this. It's the ribbon to PowerPoint that I just showed you. Now, truth is, usually educators don't have a lot of video in their lessons. You're welcome to. It's a great way, I think, to engage students. But you don't have to. So if you're afraid of turning on your video camera, you really don't have to. Just doing audio and inking is probably the dominant way of educators using Mix. And so the next thing I want to take you through is a couple great examples of educators that have created some fantastic mixes. So here's one by the name of Stacy Rochon, and here's her as a flipped classroom. I think she might be in her apartment or house, by the way. Her paradigm is she starts out her presentation with a little picture-in-picture video, and then the rest of her content is, in fact, slides, voice, and inking. And so you'll see as this is now playing, we'll get to the next slide here, and move on. You'll see how she has some slides set up, and then she does some inking to take the students through specific examples of radical exponents. A few other things to talk about. One is we're PowerPoint users, and so the slide sorter mode is familiar to us, though what we're looking at right now, geez, that sure looked like a video player, didn't it? So if I go back and I look at this and I hit play, it looks a lot like a video player, but geez, Jim, you just showed this slide sorter mode. Well, what we're actually showing isn't a video at all. It's PowerPoint with video and inking layered on top of it. And the implications of that are kind of profound, because educators often use PowerPoint's ability to do rich simulations, slide transitions, and you put hyperlinks inside of slides all the time. Well, when you export all of that to video, you sort of lose all of that investment you put into creating an engaging PowerPoint deck. With Office Mix, it's presenting PowerPoint on the web in the Innovative Player, cross-platform. I should also say PowerPoint isn't needed by the student that's playing the Office Mix experience. And it's totally free. So we think that's a pretty compelling offer. So the slide sorter mode works the way that you would expect. Students can then navigate directly to slide 8, if that's the slide that I'm interested in. Also support closed captioning, and if I have an educator that is speaking a little more slowly than I'd like, I can speed it up super quick and get twice the education done in half the time. Or in all honesty, if the teacher's language is a second language for me, I might want to slow down the audio, or if I'm just new to radical exponents, I might want to slow down the audio, and it also slows down the inking that you're seeing there on the screen. So being able to change the tempo of the lesson that's being played back to me is in fact a pretty compelling capability. I thought I'd show you one more example of Office Mix that in some ways is a little bit more sophisticated. That mix done by Stacy Rochon is pretty typical, by the way. You take some slides, you do some inking, kind of real time, a little bit of video up front, that bit's not typical, and then some audio. This one is a little bit more sophisticated.
About electricity. Lightning bolts, Teslas, electric eels, circuit boards. Electricity is everywhere. But what is it? How does it work? How do we harness its amazing power? Today, I'm going to answer some of these questions. So take my hand, if you will, as we embark on a fantastic adventure that I call Ohm's Law. Ohm's Law helps us to understand how circuits work. A circuit is just a collection of electrical devices.
So
those devices are
it's important to know that the process of creating what I'm showing you now is all done in PowerPoint. There's no other sophisticated tools that are being used. It's just PowerPoint plus the Office Mix add-in. There's a couple other bits to this I wanted to show you.
Voltage, resistance, and current.
One is one is this.
Hashtag Spurious hashtag.
So he uses inking on the slide to accentuate a point and to tell the rest of the story. He's embedded YouTube videos in the slide to make a point. Knife in the toaster, bad idea, check. And then what he's done is he's embedded an interactive simulation. I mentioned that that's one of the interactables, an interactive simulation where I can test to see to what extent, no toast for you, your score was 20, that's kind of bad. Or I can test my understanding of the lesson that was just presented to me. All right. And then he also then embeds a quiz question, inside of the experience. I'll take a guess. Oh, I got that incorrect, but he provides me with a little remediation, wrong units, and the answer should be expressed in a range. All right. What am I doing there? And in this case, the assessment that he created allows me to do multiple tries. And now that I've got that right, I can continue through the experience. Okay. So the next thing I want to do is we're going to finish the Office Mix we just created. You might not remember this because it was a full 6 minutes ago, is we were creating the PowerPoint deck that I started the conversation with. I was using that to produce a mix and to take you all through the process of producing a mix. I did some screen recording, audio recording, and some inking on the slide. There's a couple of things I want to demonstrate to you, and then I'll get my content to the web, show you the end user experience, and talk you through the rich analytics that I promised. And so from here, I can come to quizzes, videos, and apps. And this is where there's a whole variety of assessment quiz types and interactive types that you can embed within your Office Mix. And when I embed them within PowerPoint that I'm running here on my Surface device, they're also played back to the student exactly as I see them here. And so we've got some poll questions up front. And then what we did was we partnered with a variety of partners, including Khan Academy and a few others, where we source all of their lessons and we make them available inside of Office Mix. And so that last example I gave you on Ohm's Law, the person who produced that didn't build that HTML5 fancy widget. He just sort of pulled it out of the library of all the widgets that existed because it made for a compelling way of teaching Ohm's Law. Make sense? And so I thought I'd just show you one or two quick examples of this. So we can do multiple choice quiz. Let's say why is Seattle called the Emerald City? Well, I can say because Green Lake is green. I can say something about St. Patrick's Day. It's probably not right. Or I can say big green trees. So it turns out I'm pretty sure that's the right answer because I'm from Seattle. I can do some other options here like put hints. I showed you that in one of the assessments that I took a minute ago, where the educator put a hint in the experience to help the students along. And there's a few different configuration choices, but I'll choose this one. I can preview it if I want. This is the preview that I see here in PowerPoint, and students will see the same thing. Now, the other thing to notice is this is just a PowerPoint object. And so I can move it around the slide. I can make it bigger and smaller. I can copy paste it on different slides if I want. Same goes for my video and audio, by the way. I can move that around the slide. I no longer want it there. I want to put it down there. And geez, I sure want that to look smaller. These HD cameras aren't too good for my complexion. All right, so then you go to this slide here. So the other thing I want to show you is one of these, what we call interactables. So I can come to here, and rather than choose a quiz type this time, I'm going to choose Fluid Math. Now, Fluid Math is just an application that blows my mind. And it's a great way of teaching math. Nope, that's not what I wanted. So I can essentially, I can draw on the screen, and Fluid Math provides an expression parser and provides me with answers. I can also do some add timelines as well, move the timeline along. And there's also a way of stitching together the various components that I've put on the slide to present more complex math and science. And so I show you these two interactables, not because I think Fluid Math is necessarily exactly what you need to take your profession to the next level, but it's an example of the richness of these interactive applications that you can embed within a PowerPoint presentation, present to students, all for free. And there's a library of thousands of them that are in there. So what I want to do next with you quickly is I'm going to publish this mix to the cloud. So I've got my mix. Now from here I can preview it. That's interesting if I want to preview it before I upload it to the cloud. I can export it to video. That's interesting. Mix is now a video creation tool, and it was pretty easy to create that video. You saw me do it. I can export it to SCORM. That's a standard that a variety of learning management systems support. I can publish it to Office 365 Video. Office 365 Video is a component to Office 365 that is a video library. By the way, there's also fantastic tutorials built right into the Mix experience now. So I can come here and look at my individual tutorials, but what I might want to do now is I'm just going to upload this directly to Mix. And so what happens now is it'll ask me to log in, and this way, after I log in, it's then able to track all of the mixes that I've uploaded to the Mix cloud, and then I can download them, edit them, and then re-upload them again. We support a variety of login types. You can log in with your Google ID. We like Google here. We can log in with your Facebook ID, with your Microsoft ID, or with your org ID. If you're a school that has adopted Office 365, you've got Org ID as a potential security approach or authentication approach. And I'm going to choose that option. So what will happen next is PowerPoint. Oh, this screen here. So let me explain this. So now this is a new mix. I've never uploaded it to the cloud before. So the new option is a pretty smart default. I'll stick it up to the cloud. Fantastic. But I said earlier that one of the bits of feedback we get from educators is the process of editing lessons is often difficult. Both the editing process can be difficult, and then the distribution back to students process is difficult because you kind of have to undo a bunch of stuff you did. Once the link is out in the wild, once you send someone a deck, you kind of can't crawl it back very easily. And so Mix helps you solve for that by updating it in place. So if I did this presentation this morning, and I'm doing it again now, and today's was better or has new content, I can overwrite the one I did this morning. That way, this morning's crowd gets access to the best content that we have in the afternoon. I don't have to resend out links or re-embed it in a bunch of different places. It's just always up to date. So let me scoot through here. So in maybe 20 seconds, my media is being encoded, and it's all going to upload to the Microsoft Cloud. And then it's going to give me an option to show me my mix. This is where I have a couple jokes. And depending on how long that takes, we're going to go through a couple jokes. They're education jokes my kids gave me before I came here. What did the 0 say to the 8? Nice belt. Eh? I like that one. All right. I'm hoping I don't have to dig any deeper into my education jokes. It's all right, a little math joke on you. This should just take another second. All right, so show me my mix. So this is the bit, by the way, where I started the presentation saying that there's some things you have to unlearn about the way you've used PowerPoint to really get your mind around the full power of Office Mix. And this is really that, is taking your PowerPoint deck that we're used to storing on our hard drives. We launch them, we edit them, we save them. We sometimes print them, we sometimes email them. This is taking that PowerPoint deck, uploading it to the cloud, and sharing it so that it can then be presented in that experience that I presented you for Ohm's Law. And so that's unlike PowerPoint in a lot of ways, but exactly what Mix provides. So this is now done encoding. I'm going to click the big red Show Me My Mix button. This is going to take me to this experience. I can click here and preview the mix. That's usually a good thing to start with. So we'll preview the mix, and I'll show you the slides that where we created some video and audio and did some inking. By the way, I can hover over the individual slides, and it gives me a nice little preview as to what content is on that slide. You'll see in my slide deck, I had some animations, click and things reveal, click and things reveal. People do that with PowerPoint all the time. That's exactly what we're seeing here. If you had fancier animations with things falling across the screen, that would also be presented back to the student in Mix. I took you through a Sway demo. I talked about what is Sway. Oh, these hyperlinks, by the way. Geez, if I click on that, it's active. That's not video. This isn't a video player. It's the Mix player, which is showing PowerPoint with some video embedded within it. Now the slide that I thought I'd show you is this one here. So this is where I have video, audio, and inking. The ribbon to PowerPoint that I just showed you. Maybe I don't want to show you that again. You guys all remember that. And this is where we put some assessment questions in. So quiz demo. So it's because Emerald City, because we have big green trees. And that was the last slide that I had here in the deck. So the next thing I want to show you is when you upload your mix to my mixes, there's a few other things that I want to kind of take you through. So this is where it dropped me when I uploaded my mix, and it said, show me my mix. I can give it a nice name, I can give it a description, I can upload a closed captioning file, by the way. And then this is where I can set permissions. There's really two sides of permissions. There's two ends of the continuum. There's private permissions, which essentially means it's work in progress, nobody's going to get access to it. And then the other continuum is we're going to make you into an internet sensation. We scrape all the text of the slides and we serve it up to Yahoo, Google, Bing, all the search engines, and make it super discoverable for the whole world to see. Truth is, for educators, that's kind of rare. So let me take you through a couple other options in between that are much more common. This option is pretty common, where I can upload my mix and essentially make it unlisted, which means it's there, but no one has access to it unless you send them the link, or unless you've embedded the mix inside of some other experience, some learning management system, for example, or some social network site. Now, the next option to explain is it's unlisted. However, if I send you the link, you have to log in order to get access to it. So let's say, for example, I created this mix, I uploaded it to the cloud, and I gave everyone access to it, which of course I'm going to do. And if I made you all log in with your Google ID, Facebook ID, Microsoft ID, or org ID, I would then see all of your progress on a slide-by-slide basis. I'd see your answer to my silly, why is Seattle called the Emerald City quiz question. I'd see how many times you visited each individual slide. So this option is robust in that you get the students, you get analytics on a student-by-student basis, slide-by-slide basis, where the previous option you don't. Instead, we just aggregate all the data into sort of an anonymous user. And in this option, if you're an organization that's adopted Office 365, you can use Office 365 credentials when you upload a mix. That way it's not available to anyone outside of that Office 365 tenant, if that makes any sense. A couple other quick things to show you here before I take it to analytics. One is this let others download my original presentation. Essentially means I'm good with my content being remixed. Truth is, for this presentation here today, I'd be delighted if a couple of you took my presentation, deleted the slide with my video on it, added one with your video on it, put a slide in the front with some context, and shared it with your colleagues. Like, I'd be delighted if that would happen. And so, of course, I would click this checkbox and enable you to remix that content. And by the way, the process of doing that is you download the mix. What's the source code for Office Mix? Do you need Visual Studio and certification .NET? No, you just need PowerPoint. So you download the PowerPoint file, make your changes to it, re-upload it to the cloud, share it to your colleague, and Bob's your uncle. Right? It's pretty simple. So one more thing I want to show you before we spend a little bit of time in Q&A is analytics. This is really what lights up educators like nothing else when I take them through my mix demos. And so let me find a good deck here where I've had a lot of people go through it, and I will give you a sense of the analytics that we present back to educators. That's a bad example. So we essentially present slide by slide, user by user, how much time they spent per slide, how much time the author expected them to spend per slide. You'll see there's a drop-off rate from 6 visitors on the first slide to 4 visitors on the second slide. You might then ask, well, who were these people? Here's the list of people. One of them is this guy by the name of Jim Federico. You can then see what Jim did on a slide-by-slide basis, including completing individual assessments and poll questions.